Hi, thanks for tuning in to the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by CR Gutters and A Advanced Septic Services. My name's Galen.
I'm Joe.
And we're coming at you from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the podcast. All right, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by A Advanced Septic Services and CR Gutters. My name is Galen.
I'm Joe.
And we're coming at you from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. So, Joe, to our new listeners and viewers, can you tell everyone how our Ask Valor Masterminds podcast came to be, please?
Absolutely. So it first started off as a private Facebook group page where the purpose really was just to bring businesses together to kind of communicate with one another, ask questions, share stories, kind of build each other up. And, being that we're in the internet marketing field, we get a lot of questions from a lot of businesses, not always related to internet marketing, a lot of times just related to business, looking for different types of connections. So we thought, what a better way than just to bring people together, different guest speakers to talk about kind of all different topics as it relates to business and share tips for our audience.
Awesome. And today's guest, Dr. Kelly Henry. Joe, can you give a quick intro? Because we're really excited to bring to the mastermind table Dr. Kelly. So give a full intro to Dr. Kelly.
Sure. For 20 years, award-winning chiropractor Dr. Kelly Henry helped his patients live healthier lives. On the foundation of exceptional customer service, Dr. Henry grew his clinics into one of the top producing chiropractic offices in the nation with multiple locations and doctors. Since 2018, Dr. Henry has used his system to coach business leaders on improving customer service to rapidly increase growth and profits. He's also the author of Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service, a book with proven strategies on how to maximize profits. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And I have to ask you real quick. It says you built, with your chiropractic clinic, multiple offices and doctors. Can you explain a little bit about your practice there?
I had my main location, my main office, and then I hired associates, trained them, and moved them into basically satellite offices. Is the how I branched out into multiple locations.
Nice. And how many locations do you still have a practice, or did you kind of sell?
No, everything's gone. Ultimately, I had two locations that I ran. And I sold both those out in 2018.
Okay, nice.
Awesome. And Dr. Kelly's going to share some tips for his success we're not talking about anything chiropractic today, but kind of transitioning or segueing from our last episode where we had Effie Cohen from Pro Posture. Joe, and we didn't do this deliberately, but it seemed to be a good transition from posture. We have a chiropractor who's going to tell us more about success. What was one of your main takeaways from when Effie was on our last episode?
Yeah, I think the big thing is because since a lot of people are working from home now, is just to make yourself aware of how long you're sitting for. So she says every hour, stand up, walk around, do some exercises. And then when you're sitting at your desk, this is something that I learned from her several months ago that I do every day now, is sit with your feet flat on the ground and in front of you. Most people, sit with their feet tucked underneath the chair, their toes curled. I mean, I catch myself doing that all the time, but just sit with your feet grounded in front of you, flat-footed.
And my main takeaway was something she mentioned, and after she said it, I reflected back and geez, I do this a lot. So my main thing was get yourself out of clinching positions. So working from home, working on a computer, I'm compressed. If you're in the email, you're tight, you're writing it like this. Your jaws clench if you're waiting on the phone, then you don't stand up. And then when she said that, geez, I do that a lot. Even if a stand-up desk, you still clench, you kind of keep it in, and it kind of builds up the stress. So that was one of my main takeaways when she was on.
And when you said that, just she talked about your organs are compressed. So if you sit up straight or stand up straight, wherever your desk is, then you're opening up your lungs and you're breathing better. And everything she said makes complete sense.
And awesome. I completely agree with everything she said because I used to preach that to my patients. So that's good stuff.
Great. Now we have the approval of good medical.
Not that in my opinion matters, but I loved hearing that because that is so true. All that information needs to be learned and listened to.
Joe, our Valor Cares promotion. Can you share with our audience any updates on our Valor Cares promotion that we're so proud of?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just an opportunity for businesses to submit their information, and a committee of people with our company, Valor Marketing, chooses a winner. Actually, about 2 or 3 winners every single month, and then we just build out free websites. So really, the only businesses who don't qualify is someone who sells a product or like a multi-level marketing. But other than that, if you have a business and your website's outdated, or you have a business and you've never had a website, or you have a business and your uncle's best friend's cousin who lives in his basement built your website and you don't have access to it, like, great, go to valormarketingllc.com/Valor Cares, or go to our website, askvalormasterminds.com, and click on the Valor Cares tab.
Awesome. So we come to the part of our podcast, our Advanced Septic Pump You Up quote of the day. So I asked Dr. Kelly to share a good motivational quote, and I was happy that it was one that we had previously, but it's always a good one by Zig Ziglar. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. So Dr. Kelly, obviously that's what you're doing. You sold your practice and then you're helping more people. Why does that quote resonate with you, or why does it mean so much to you?
Well, the heart of what I did as a chiropractor, the heart of what I do now is basically serve. Now I'm helping other people understand that concept and to serve and put the customers first. So, and that quote epitomizes that. You know, you can have everything you want in your life. It's okay to do that. It's okay to have those goals and try to achieve that. But in order to do that, you need to focus on others first and doing for others first and serving others first. That's the quickest way to get there.
And what amazes me is, with all the guests that we have on, everyone kind of says the same thing: help everyone else first, and then you're going to eventually get what you want.
Right. It's that giver's gain philosophy, you know, the servant kind of, like, you want to serve other people first before yourselves, and then ultimately good will come of it. So
Absolutely.
Great stuff. So now we come to our Did You Know segment, sponsored by CR Gutters. So since Dr. Kelly will help share with us today are more secrets to customer service success. Nothing about like running a business specifically, but some good tips. He wrote a book on it, and we're so glad to have him share. I'm going to give a couple stats and get some thoughts from the table from everyone on. So it's 5 to 25 times more expensive to acquire new customers than to keep existing ones. I think a lot of businesses have this mindset of let's get. Don't focus on keeping. And that stat just shows when you have someone, you got to hold on to them. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. That is what I preach every day. It's not how many customers you get, it's how many customers you keep. That's the key, because that's what will allow you to exponentially grow and profit your business. It's the ones that you're keeping in your door. But so many businesses, like you just mentioned, are the ones that get. And then once they make that sell or transaction, they forget about those customers. Those customers are out the door, going to their competition or somewhere else. And they just have to perpetuate the get to make some profit, but they never really can grow. They never really can achieve those goals and those plateau or those goals and dreams that they necessarily would love to achieve, because the model they're using doesn't allow them to do that.
It's almost like the Groupon mindset, right? Like, I got 10 new customers, but if you only keep one, your cost of acquisition actually goes up than cost of retention, right?
Exactly. So it's a hamster wheel that a lot of businesses are on. Just that sell once, they're out the door, and then I got to get more. So it's a tough way to run a business.
Right. So this next one kind of follows that previous thought. So a 5% increase in retention, just 5%, can lead to 25% to 95% increase in profits. So you talk about the value of retention. Talk to us about that, please.
Yeah, this is my favorite quote. This is one I lead a lot with when I'm talking to prospective clients and customers. And it's what business should be about. When you are focused on retaining those customers, it leads to massive profits and growth. I mean, it's just that simple. And you don't have to bump up your retention rate by 95%. It's simply just 5%. It's kind of like compound interest. You bring it up by 5%. Well, when you do that, you keep them in their doors. They're paying more. They're buying more often. They're staying with you. They're telling their friends and family about you, which those people come in, they stick with you, and you can see where it perpetuates and increases that growth and profits. So, again, this is one of my favorite stats, if not my favorite stat that I like to lead with, because if I can just get a business owner to understand this concept, that it's not about the getting the customer, it's about keeping the customer. And if you can do that just by a small percentage, it can create phenomenal results for you. It's really that simple.
So just talking about buying, only 5 to 20% of new customers buy, compared to 60 to 70% of existing customers. So we've seen it. I know there's a couple of customers I think of off the top of my head where they will find a business, they'll buy from them, have a great experience, and then the lifetime value increases because you've created that trust. They know you, first name basis, your interactions. So they're likely to spend more and more and more, or find excuses to, I want to support this company more. And that's kind of what you want to foster within this kind of culture of like customer retention. Is that right?
Absolutely. I think you said it perfectly. You're trying to build relationships. And when you have a relationship with your customer, your client, your patient, they know, like, and trust you. And so they want to continue to buy from you. And when you have a new product or a new service, or, whatever the case may be, they're going to be more inclined, because they have that relationship and that trust factor, to go ahead and purchase and move forward with that, as opposed to the new customer that you don't have a relationship. They are still trying to figure out if they're just another sale or another transaction to you, and that there's no bond there for them to move forward with buying from you. So again, those three stats just point to the economics of customer retention.
Yeah.
And it's so much more profitable to retain customers than to have the mindset of just the next transaction, the next sale on the new customer side of things.
Yeah, I can relate to that with our business. It's just keeping our clients, keeping up with them on a regular basis. As a business's goals change, their marketing plan change. So you're always, for us, I think our retention rate's pretty high. In the 10 years we've been doing this, I think I can count on two hands how many customers I've lost. So as long as the customers are happy and they're seeing a return, no matter what service or product they buy, they're going to continue to stay there and buy again.
Absolutely.
Right. So this next one is, we'll kind of talk about this, and then Joel, I'll have a follow-up with you. But 62% of customers say they share bad experiences with others, according to Salesforce in 2018. So the reason I mentioned this, when we talk about customer experience, since we're an internet marketing company and this is a marketing podcast, online reviews, matter. So Joe, when people always like to share bad experiences, give me a quick thought with, like reviews, reputation management. I'm not trying to plug what we do, but
Right.
Give me a quick thought with businesses that you've had, because we both have had this, but I'll ask you about customers sharing bad experiences.
Really, it's just for all reviews, you should be replying to every single review. So if you're paying for a service to monitor reviews, you're going to see all of your reviews come in. If you're not, you just got to keep an eye, especially on like Google is the number one. But really, it's just always reply to every single review. First, thank them for choosing to use your service, because there's lots of businesses they could have chosen to go with. And then if it's a good experience, we just thank you for it. Please keep us in mind for any future products or any future services. If it's a negative review, just put right there in the comments, like, I'm sorry you're unhappy, whatever. Here is an email address, or here's the name of someone that you can call our company to reach out to see what we can do to make things right. So what that shows the people who are actually reading the reviews is they had a negative experience, but this company reached out to that person to say, hey, we know we screwed up. How can we make things right? And then, that in itself will get people to still continue to choose that company.
Yeah, because I know for a fact that when I talk to people who read reviews, they'll often go to the first negative review and judge a business on how they reply to it. So in your history, Dr. Kelly, of consulting with businesses, do you find that to be accurate too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree. I wouldn't say anything different. You want to comment on every review, and it's even more important to comment on the negative reviews and hit those as soon as possible, head on. Don't blame, don't point fingers. Doesn't matter who's at fault. You want to make some kind of reply in a sense of, we're sorry, or we're sorry that happened to you. Those type of things. How can we resolve this? How can we make this better for you? Do it immediately and move forward from there.
And especially for the ones that you catch that are not clients, it's still just writing that review like this person has never been a customer or a client of ours.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
One of my things I often say and teach my clients is it's no longer word of mouth, it's word of mouse. And I learned that from one of my mentors, customer service mentors, John Julius. It's easy for a disgruntled customer to get online and blast out whatever. And you have to be on top of that, aware of that, just like you all mentioned, and understand that concept that it can get away from you quick if you allow those reviews to be blasted out there and you're not monitoring that and taking care of them in an appropriate manner.
Yep.
Right. So our last stat of our Sierra Gutters Did You Know segment. So just getting back to, we're kind of negative with people sharing bad reviews, but 68% of buyers will pay more for products and services from a company with a strong record of customer service, according to HubSpot in 2019. So everything you're talking about with the customer experience, after you take away the Groupon mentality of just buying the cheapest thing, but people will actually pay more for something that they trust, that they view as that. So when you create an experience, when you have your evangelists of your business going out in the field for you, or they read online reviews, do you see that true too, when people will, pay more for your services compared to your competitors, or instead of jumping ship?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. True customer service is making the customer feel valuable and important. And people are starved for that feeling. They want to feel important, valued, like a rock star, particularly when they are handing over money for a service or a product. So when a business will do that and make those customers feel that way, those customers will pay more for it. Now, that's not why the business should do it, but it's a nice bonus. If you want to charge a little bit more, you're going to keep those loyal customers in your business because they love how they're being treated. So that's just a nice added benefit to providing stellar customer service for your client base.
And then when when you're able to refer out, then listen to a podcast this morning by Dr. Ivan Miser and BNI. He said that when you send someone a referral, those people who do business with you tend to even spend even more money with you. So maybe they had an idea of what they were going to spend for a product or service, but now they're willing to spend even more because it came from a referral, and that referral obviously is someone who's trusted within the community.
And
so my one thing I wanted to ask, just kind of for our audience, because I've heard it leading up with a couple different episodes, is in the COVID era, the new normal, the next normal of what it is. How can you do that by being respectful with everyone's kind of freedoms, or how people view what customer service should be now in this kind of almost virtual first world as opposed to in-person world? What's your quick thought on that?
Well, again, the principles are applicable no matter where we're at least in my opinion. So the medium changes, it can be virtual, it can be just strictly online, it can be via phone, it can be in person in some cases, whatever the case may be. But the principles are the same. The customer wants to feel important and special and be valued. So that is just a core concept that has to be established and has to be followed, a mission statement, if you will. To me, it's even more important now to have stellar customer service than it was prior to the beginning of the pandemic in early 2020. People are more skeptical. They're nervous of what's going on. They're the new normal. They're tighter with their money. There's a lot of psychological things going on. We're just, there's some upheaval and some, we're just not in our elements like we used to be. And so, again, people are even more starved for this feeling of being valued than they were prior to the pandemic. And so it's even more important now moving forward than, at least in my opinion, that it ever has been. And it's always been important.
Right. So cue image one. Now let's get to know Dr. Kelly a little bit more. So we asked these 3 questions of all our guests. Joe, why don't you lead us off, please?
Sure. What's one lesson you learned as an early entrepreneur?
To hire a coach and hire a coach early on. I didn't do that. I suffered along for a few years when I first started my chiropractic clinics, and I thought I could manage. I thought I knew what I needed to do. I got a lot of education in chiropractic school on how to be a good chiropractor. I didn't get so much education on how to be a good businessman, and you have to have both. And so finally, when one of my chiropractic buddies who I graduated with, I saw his success, and he keyed me into consultant and coach, and they really helped me settle and establish proper business models and systems that helped me move forward. But I was doing well enough that I wasn't poor by any means for a few years, but I'm a goals kind of guy. I had goals and dreams that I wanted to achieve, and I just couldn't move forward with the way I was doing things. And it wasn't until I had hired a coach that really helped streamline and move me forward a lot quicker. And I've had a coach ever since. This was back in, I think, 2003, 2002. And I've had business coaches and all kinds of coaches since that point, because I've seen how incredibly valuable they are.
Awesome. So what is the best piece of advice that you've been given?
Wow, I've been given a lot of good advice through the years. One that sticks out the most, and it's not so much, well, it's kind of business related, but I was a couple years into my practice. I'm trying to build a practice, dedicating a lot of time to it, have a young family, 2 small kids. And I had an older gentleman that was a patient. He was probably in his 70s at the time, and I can't remember what his name was, but I can remember his face as clear as day. I got done taking care of and giving him this treatment. He got off the table, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Doc, I want you to listen to me." He said, "No man on his deathbed has ever wished he would spend more time at the office." And he said, "I know you're trying to build this practice, but you have a young family. You need to get your priorities straight." And that was like a slap in the face to me. And ever since that point, I really took that to heart that, my business and my success is important, but it's not more important than my wife and the relationship I have with my kids. So it really helped me dial back into what my priorities were. And I've really held true to those since that point.
Nice. I mean, I couldn't agree more. So lastly, because we're a marketing company, why is marketing your business so important?
People, you got to get the word out. People don't know you when you're obscure. That's the whole purpose of marketing, is so you get beyond obscurity. The funny thing, and this is what I teach my clients, is having great customer service is going to enhance every area of your business, including your marketing. Yeah. Because ultimately, like we've talked about a few times already, your customers, your clients, your patients, they become your marketing piece. Not that you don't need your services or outside marketing, but when you have both those working together, man, that makes business a lot easier. But marketing, at least initially, if you're new starting out, it just gets you out of obscurity into the known, and nobody can buy from you, or you can't provide services if they don't know you. So,
yep,
right. So let's get into your book, or kind of what you could share with our audience. So the book you wrote is Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service. And I want to read this excerpt that I found online from you. "My goal in this book is to help businesses to go from surviving to thriving, and from thriving to dominating. This is accomplished by creating and enhancing customer service and developing a business's service culture and attitude." So for our audience out there, what are 2 or 3 things that they could implement right now? I mean, we will put the link to your book when we post it, but what are 2 or 3 nuggets of information you could share right now that could immediately help our audience, local entrepreneurs, businesses that are watching and tuning in?
Well, one's a principle that I love to give just to help understand the concept of great customer service. And that's for the business owner, the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the brick and mortar, or whatever the case may be, whatever your business is. You have to realize you are providing some kind of perception to your customer every time you interact with them, whether good or bad. There's no neutral to it. So the choice is yours. And it's either going to enhance or detract from your business. So you have to understand that. You are providing some kind of perception. The choice is whether you're going to make a good perception to enhance your business or not so good, which is going to detract. So keep that in mind. A couple of very simple action takeaways are, first of all, to what I call bookend the experience for a customer. Mm-hmm. All righty. So we all know about good first impressions, how valuable that is. And we need to do that. It's important that you're welcoming, you are enthusiastic, you are greeting those customers and welcome them to your business. We know that. But businesses fall short and fall flat on the back end of that when a customer is done with the transaction, with the sale, when they're leaving and they're left on a flat note. There's no great farewell. There's no thank you for doing business with us. There's no we greatly appreciate your business, those type of things. It's just left on a flat note. Well, that last impression is the one that lasts. Yep. So they won't necessarily remember that first impression. They're going to remember that, they didn't really care if I bought from them or not, that type of thing. So you have to book in the experience. A great first impression, a great last impression.
So kind of like your follow-up. So like, I'll send clients like thank you cards. So that lets them know that, hey, I appreciate you. And I send them to whether they choose to work with us or not, I still send them a thank you card. So
absolutely. And that's phenomenal. Now, from my chiropractic standpoint, patient came in that day, we greeted them real well. And then when they paid and were making an appointment for the next time, then, my staff was instructed and they knew to say, hey, we appreciate you. Have a fantastic day. Let us know if something you need, anything, those type of things. Mm-hmm. So we left on that end. That's a brick and mortar, high volume type situation. So, right. Different business models, figure out how to make that last impression in whatever business you're in, but it is vital to make that great last impression.
And that's important then to have everyone from the front end to the back end, because you don't know where the last touch will be. So when I visit my chiropractor, usually scheduling before leaving the door is like the last touch, or it could be getting off the ice table or whatever, it has to be a whole, as you said, like a culture thing, right? Just everyone has to kind of buy in. It just can't be you, the business owner, and then everyone else. Everyone has to be rowing in the same direction.
Yes. And that's a great point that, it has to be a culture. And really for it to be a culture and a foundation principle in a business, great customer service, the employees they really need to be treated better than the customers do. They need to understand that they are valuable, they're important to the business, so they in turn can turn around and treat the customers in a way that you would want them to treat. So that is a huge piece of the customer service puzzle, if you will, that that needs to make sure it's done well and done correctly. Otherwise, you can put whatever actions you want in, but if the employees haven't bought in, if they're not treated well, it's going to fall flat and it won't be near as productive or effective as it could or should be.
Yeah, and I know these big companies, big brands, they almost created a position for that, right? There's CXOs now, Chief Experience Officers, where that is their job, is to monitor all the touch points in person, virtually, of how customers keep your loyalty, like loyalty scores and those kind of things. So everyday businesses could apply some of those same practices just to keep the whole thing of this podcast episode is like customer retention, taking care of people who already do business with you. So
exactly. And the way I teach it, the way I coach it, my philosophy through when I was a chiropractor till now is this is not difficult. Don't make it difficult. It's really just doing the simple, easy things but you have to do them consistently. And that's what ultimately is going to drive up the retention rate and then help to maximize the growth and profits of the business. But again, it's doing the simple things consistently. And that's anything in life. Do it consistently and you're going to see results. But the consistency is the key ingredient.
Awesome.
So one last question as we wrap up. What is the number one thing that you find people do wrong in customer service?
Well, I just touched on it, consistency, but there's one other aspect. Most business owners, when I'm talking to groups or when I get on with a prospective client, the vast majority of them think they already provide great customer service, that it's not a problem for them. And usually I only have to ask a few questions to unpeel the onion, so to speak, and understand, things aren't as good as that as they think they are. And there's many stats that show that too. Most businesses have, a piece here and there of great customer service. And so they feel like that's what qualifies them to say that they provide great customer service. Unfortunately, they don't see the multiple holes that customers are falling through and consequently profits. So it's just to kind of take the blinders off and help them understand that, you do have this piece and that piece, but we need to shore up a lot of the holes and make this much more effective and beneficial for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We'll share all your social channels when we post information about this episode. A great episode. I think probably maybe in the future we might even have you back and everything just to kind of follow up on some of those same elements.
I appreciate it.
But before we go, cue image 3. One last plug, Joe, about our Valor Cares initiative, please.
Sure. If you have a business and you're just unhappy with your website, make sure to go to askvalormasterminds.com, click on the Valor Cares page, submit your information, and our team of wonderful people will continue to choose winners for free websites.
Awesome. So on behalf of our sponsors, Advanced Septic Services and CR Gutters, thanks, Dr. Kelly, for coming on. We'll put information on Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service. My name's Galen.
I'm Joe.
Coming at you from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thank you for watching our Ask Valor Masterminds episode. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.